back to the DMV's Vibe podcast. I am Miss Pink,
And I feel a swagger.
and we are in the month of April. Um, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, as well as it is Autism Awareness Month. It's been 4 years since we've actually discussed this topic. Um, so I did want to revisit it as the importance of being a survivor of sexual assault. Um, we talked about it on a previous show, and it was, I want to say, a very deep show, but I feel like we have come a long way in our healing journey. It was the first time that I had spoke about it publicly, and it's something about taking your power back
Mm-hmm.
after a situation like that. Um, just to go back a little bit, in 2020, after I lost my brother, I was in a space of very deep grief and just trying to figure out um, what life would be without him. And I thought I was being comforted and supported by someone that I was familiar with, and they sexually assaulted me in the very midst of my grief. And so that just added to the already heavy feelings that I was going through. A lot of victims do not report, um, do not report anything, and it's not because we don't want the person to.
A lot of it is because people don't believe women.
Mhm.
Um, when a woman reports a sexual assault, it oftentimes, which was with my experience, was, well, you kind of set yourself up for that situation. You knew what it was. So a lot of times the victims will not come forward because blame is placed on the victim. And so it already is heavy enough because of what you have experienced. But then to have people make you feel like you deserved it or you caused it, um, is part of the reason why you have women who won't come forward. Sexual assault is the number one most unreported crime in the United States of America.
And a lot of people don't understand that there are several things that fall under sexual assault. And so it impacts everyone. It can be male or female, a victim of sexual violence, and people who commit sexual abuse, harassment, and assault is this in all communities. You do, unfortunately, find it more when there is a struggle in power dynamics, or um, I don't like to say poverty. I'll just say in communities where it may not be flourishing as much, where I feel like a lot of it goes unreported,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people who commit these types of crimes are people who are well known in the community. They have several people backing them, and like you said, a lot of women face, well, a lot of people face backlash when they do report. It could be accused of, they. A lot of people don't like to believe victims, and it's very unfortunate that
It,
after you go through something so traumatic, it's like you're being persecuted and judged.
it's hard because women and young girls have always weaponized the word rape or weaponized sexual assault. I mean, if we just think about it, that you've had whole cities burnt down because a white woman has accused a black man of rape. It's crazy because actually, we are currently doing To Kill a Mockingbird at work. And that's literally what it's about. White woman who falsely accuses a black man of rape. And so I think that's part of the reason why you have the stigma, because you have so many women and even men that have cried wolf when it came to being sexually assaulted. So then when you have women like Kendra and I who have really went through this, it makes it hard because when we're telling our story, then people looking at us like, yeah, okay, side eye,
Mhm.
whatever. And um also I think people even think like the size of a female, just because I'm a heavier female, and this is way before I was in the gym and all that, um that doesn't mean that I'm stronger than any man. Like,
Mhm.
hello, scientists have told us, we know that men are naturally stronger than women. So um
And when you go through something traumatic, it's like you kind of lose your strength sometimes.
mhm.
Um, and you play it back later, like, man, I should have did this or I could have did this, and that part right there just plays into the post traumatic stress behind it. And um, I applaud anyone who is able to go through something traumatic and be able to talk about it publicly, because I feel like that's like your last step of healing.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of people just suffer silently; they never tell anyone. Um, though I feel like everyone should report it, and even looking back, I wish that I had. Um, find someone that you feel in your circle that is safe for you to discuss those feelings and emotions behind that, because keeping it bottled up can make you um, it can drive you to crazy, I say, because you start to replay that over and over in your mind. And what could I have did differently? You start to take on what the world says,
Mhm.
like, did I do something? What did I do that caused this? When it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with a person who needs help themselves. And you find that most times people who commit these acts have had them committed to them.
Yeah, a lot of times it is like a power struggle. It is, they breed off that, makes them feel good when they do things like that. Um I was attacked twice. The first time I really, I can tell you like what happened afterwards, but I can't tell you anything. And that's because it was just something I really tried to block out my mind. I just remember that it was sophomore year of college and I was on my way back home. And I said something to my best friends at college at the time, but like other than that, like I never told anyone about that one. And even to this day, like I'm like, dang, I really don't. But I remember it was this boy on campus that looked like my attacker, and he lived in my same dorm on the same floor as me. So like every time I saw him, I would literally, like, my heart would jump and my stomach would sink. But I knew it wasn't him, but it's just like he looked so much like him. And then the second one, went to the police, all of that. Like, people just don't really understand, like, when you have to be like poked and prodded and to sit there and have to take, I had to get a shot in my butt, I had to take a plan B pill, and then I even, like, I threw all of that up, like I threw up, like, I just remember like being in the backseat of the car throwing up. So um when, like, that's why I don't take the jokes and stuff very lightly.
Mhm.
At work, kids are super super insensitive, so a lot of those things are so immature, and it's not a matter of oh, you taking your feelings out on them or anything like that. It's like, no, it's really triggering. Because it's like you really don't understand it until it happens really close to home. And a lot of people, even during that time period, the ones that I did tell, and it really was not a lot of people. Like, there was no empathy, especially for my best friend at the time. Like, I felt so unsupported, and um, sitting there, like, I literally, y'all, I had a bite mark right here on my face. I had to walk around like that. Like, this man's teeth was in my
Mhm.
face. And I had to walk around with bruises and stuff like that. And to feel unsupported by your friends, or to have people make you feel like you're the victim. And I'm like, do y'all not see my face? Like I'm the victim here. But it's just it's a tough subject, and I definitely applaud any female that is open to talking about it. It took me years. Years. So actually 4 years ago on the show was the first time I've openly talked publicly, let me say publicly, discussed my journey or my story with that.
Yeah. Um, Initially, I was scared to. I had refused to tell my brother, and that was the first person I saw after it happened, and he could just see it in my face. But I'm the type of person who I don't want to risk nobody's freedom for something, but I didn't understand the severity of the situation at that time.
Hmm.
I was just like in panic mode. A lot of people don't understand that the generation before us, a lot of them didn't talk about it at all. Um, Never had a conversation growing up. Of course, you had the conversation with your parents, like, don't let people touch you
Hmm.
inappropriately, but you never have a conversation about something that can prepare you if this was to happen to you. Um, 1 in 4 women are sexually assaulted. And if we really think about that, that number is crazy.
That's a lot of females.
hmm I saw a video of this lady who is an advocate, and she goes from city to city doing conferences. And it was about a room of maybe 400 people. And she asked if someone had been sexually assaulted, or if they knew someone sexually assaulted, to have them stand. Just about everyone in the room was standing. Her next question was, how many people of those people that you know or yourself reported it? And more than 90% sat down. And it's extremely alarming that, one, as we stated, it's not just women who experience it, it's also men. And understanding that men are sexually assaulted by both men and women.
Hmm.
And those numbers can be extremely surprising and alarming because men don't talk about things nearly as much as women do.
Also, because when it happens, especially when guys are like 9 and 10 years old, and it's 13, 14, whatever year, it's like, sir, you were molested.
hmm
You were taken advantage of. But because it's a young boy with an older woman at the time, they look at it as like a rite of passage. And it's like,
hmm
no, it's nasty. You were definitely taken advantage of. And sometimes that causes and this can go both ways, male, female, it causes them to be hypersexual. I have worked with children that have been molested, that have been sexually assaulted. Had a student years ago who was already a sex offender, but he was literally doing what was done to him. He was doing it
hmm
to like other students. And so, like, men, I know y'all think that's cool, but it's no, because you didn't get that. I feel like your opportunity to grow older and make that better decision was taken from you, because it's like y'all, it's like, oh, y'all think it's fun in the game. It's like, no, baby, that lady was disgusting, and
42% of men.
that lady needs to be locked up. Absolutely disgusting. I don't understand how these teachers are out here doing these things with their students, because they no way. That is absolutely disgusting.
You know what? Well, I'm not even going to start down that path, but all you we can really do is pray that the minds of the people who are supposed to mold your children are stable, healthy, and they know better. That's all. Unfortunately, you can do when you send your child to school.
Hmm.
32.9% of adults with intellectual disabilities have experienced sexual violence.
I know y'all seen the Netflix joint, Say You Love Me. Listen, that is a prime example. I was just talking to someone the other day about, it was a case, I can't remember, where the man broke into assisted living or something, no, intellectual disability, like something with someone who had I was labeled ID, and had sex with her and got her pregnant. Like, I really think it's a special place in hell for people who take advantage of those people. That is absolutely disgusting. Like, I just,
When I worked for social services, that was some of them. Like you see a lot of different cases there, and as someone who was, I was not specifically say a case worker, but I dealt with a lot of people in that community, and there was this one particular person. It seemed like every other year she was pregnant. And at her age, I don't think that she should have still been trying to get pregnant, but her oldest was like 21 and the youngest was like 6 months. And she had like a total of like 9 kids. And I'm just like, to have that cycle keep going, and then you have your oldest kid who just had a kid, and that's a lot.
it,
It's a lot, and I just know that at some point you have to stop and think about what are you doing to your body. Um, why are you letting that person do that to you?
but I also, so when it comes to with ID, a lot of times they don't really understand. They truly don't. Yeah, I know I'm a special education teacher, so I see this all day, every day. So I feel like people, because when you have an intellectual disability, your brain literally, depending on what else is going on cognitively, you're probably stuck at like a certain age, and you only understand things to beyond whatever your mental, you can't understand things beyond your mental capacity. So when it comes to people who have those type of disorders, a lot of them are actually hypersexual. So Down syndrome children tend to be more hypersexual. Children with autism tend to be more hypersexual. Kind of just depends on when they fall on the spectrum. So when it comes to stuff like that, like, I've those people, that's why I say it's a special place in hell for people like that, because you literally are taking advantage of the fact that
Mm-hmm.
they don't understand. But just like those of us that are operating to our top capacity as far as our intellectual can't even speak today, as far as we are as intellectuals, okay, it feels good. So we like sex feels good to us, anything that feels pleasurable. So they're, of course, they're going to want to keep doing it because it's a pleasure to them, it feels good. And it takes me back to, if you ever watched the Netflix series Say You Love Me, that young man's brain was operating at 6 to 12 months old. And because that lady took advantage of him, she did. He would have never known what sex felt like. So it would have been something that his brain didn't necessarily have to figure out, right? Well, let me not say never, but he wouldn't have known it in that capacity. That lady took advantage of him. Like, she raped him in her office. And it caused other issues with him once that separation came. So when with people with intellectual disabilities, then people really be taking advantage of those people.
And they are, and it's hard to sometimes it's hard to know where to set that boundary when it comes to the conversations. Like, as I said, I had to see her every year, and throughout the year we had like mid-year checks with them, and all her children were by the same man, and they were married, but every time she got pregnant he would disappear. And I felt sorry for her daughter, for her being the one that turned into a caregiver for multiple kids who also ended up having disabilities. Um, I just think, like you said, it's a special place in hell for people who take advantage of people with disabilities, senior citizens, elderly abuse is real. And the fact that anybody could commit that crime against an elderly person is beyond me. Like, you're a very strictly sick person. um we want to talk about how you can also support survivors, and that is a big thing for um someone who has survived it, because they may not, some days are going to be better than other days. They might not always be the happy, cheery person. Sometimes I know someone who, every time around that time, you could tell that they were anxious or they had like anxiety. They didn't want to go out anywhere. Um, the best thing that you can do is support the person in whatever way that they need support, whether it's someone to talk to, whether they just need you to come and just be a body near them in order to, be able to function normal. A lot of people don't have a safe space. There are resources that I will be posting. Again, there are resources in every state when it comes to sexual assault. They have a sexual assault hotline number where you can talk to someone anonymously. Um, I do feel that everyone who has had the unfortunate, um, suffered that unfortunate trauma, that you do go through therapy. Uh,
Talk to the lady.
Therapy was a big resource for myself. Um, and understand that it's not going to be easy to talk about it. And that's one of the things, in order for you to grow, you have to be able to have those hard conversations, whether it involves you or someone else. Um, but definitely go through therapy. Um, there is um, the Sexual Assault Awareness and the National Sexual Violence Resource Center. They do have a mission statement for this year called "Together We Act with Purpose. United We Have the Power to Change the World for the Better." And it's really about promoting a culture of consent and respect. And I know a lot of times we often talk about that with our young ladies in our community, but it needs to be talked about from a male aspect too. Just understanding, I've seen a lot of athletes be accused of things, and no one can prepare you for someone's vicious acts or lies. The thing you have to do is you have to be self aware of your surroundings. Don't put yourself in situations. I know some people who are outstanding men in our community, and if it's just themselves and one other female, they do not go anywhere behind closed doors. They had those conversations. So of when other people are around, just because unfortunately, you never know the intentions
Mhm.
of people. Um, but the importance is definitely having that conversation with your children, and so that they understand how important it is. Um, a lot of it does happen in schools.
It it definitely does happen in schools, and I think also the conversation, because kids can be manipulated. So I think those are conversations that need to be had with kids as well, and then parents just also pay attention to your kids, because there are definitely signs there. Because even as an educator, you conversation, you hear things that come out of kids' mouths. So sometimes there really are signs there, like there could be some type of sexual abuse, or there could be something going on there. Um, I can't tell you how I've had numerous children who have been victims of molestation, rape, um, and it's been done by their own mother, their own father, their brothers, like, and I'm talking about blood brothers, same mother, same father, but like, so I think this is just something, like, definitely pay attention, parents, definitely pay attention to the signs, definitely have those conversations with your kids, because parents, they fucking, they doing it. They doing it.
At a younger and younger
They're
age.
doing it. And they're doing it with no condoms. I'm just telling y'all that, you know what I'm saying? That there it's been done. So definitely need to have those conversations with the young men and women about rape and sexual assault, um, and protecting yourself. And it's only so much we can do, and there are certain conversations that I definitely don't feel comfortable with when it comes to my students, because I feel like this is something that your mother, father, your guardian needs to talk to you about. But I'm telling y'all right now, these kids is out here. They out here, and they out here with no condoms. They out here raw dog getting any and everything. I'm telling you, and I work in middle school. So I'm telling you,
Mm-hmm.
they doing it, like, for real, for real. So definitely need to start having those conversations um with these kids, and the rapes, the sexual assaults, all of those things, they're still happening. It's still happening in these schools. So definitely, definitely, definitely have those conversations with your kids.
Yes. Also, it's important for everyone to understand that old saying that they used to tell us, like sticks and stones are her spoons, but words when no, words do have power. Words can carry a lot of weight. They can shape the minds of your children, which you are allowing them to watch or intake daily, um, can all affect them. I know for me, after going through that, I don't think I could watch SVU for like a year afterwards, just because I think I empathize with the situations too much, that then I started being angry that I felt like I didn't have justice. And so just be extremely mindful of some of the things that people say, and some of the jokes or the casual jokes that people rumble off is a direct reflection of how their mind works. Um, it's a lot of people who make certain jokes, and I feel like in the black community, whether it's someone famous or something that they saw, and they are not mindful of their surroundings. They're, like I said, the statistics are 1 in 4 women and 42% of men. So while you think that you're just sharing a joke, let's say we're sitting at the bar and someone's sharing a joke, you never know who may be triggered or offended by it. Um, like I said, I will post the resources in reference to if someone needs any resources of talking with someone or reaching out to someone, or if you want to be an advocate. Um, but I do, this month is just very special for me as someone who survived the trauma and being able to talk about it. Because there's a lot of things that I suppressed. And like Shayla said, you when you go through a lot of traumatic things in life, sometimes your subconscious will make you suppress thoughts until something, whether it's the environment, sometimes it could be a smell, a song, um, that can trigger it and unlock it. And so just please seek therapy. Please seek therapy so that you are doing yourself justice and that it'll put you in a place where you're able to help others as well. Um, we Now April is also Autism Awareness Month, and as someone who has worked with children who fell on this wide spectrum, um, I think it's a beautiful thing to have the world be more inclusive of not just children but adults with autism. Um, I don't like how on in some videos or things that I've seen on social media where they try to expose them in a light that is used as humor when they're humans, and a lot of them are born into something that they had no control of. Um, just be mindful of children with autism and understanding that there are different levels on that spectrum. Where you have some people on autism where you wouldn't be able to tell unless they told you. And then you have some children who need a lot more assistance on a daily basis. There is There was a study that, because I saw that there were several people talking or trying to link that vaccines were the cause of autism, but there hasn't been anything to support that as they did more research. But you can get your children tested at a younger age now. Um, and autism looks different for different children. I've worked with children who were nonverbal. I work with some children that just had um, their social emotional skills were limited, and sometimes I feel like you find that in children who were born prematurely or low birth weights. It was also I've worked with kids who had cerebral palsy when I was working at Park and Planning, and the inclusion program did a tremendous job with making sure that those children could be included in activities. And I feel like the inclusion program, the only thing that I feel like was a downfall is that it didn't always help students without disabilities be able to fully embrace them or have a better understanding of how to aid them and them be more inclusive.
Well, I think that comes also from a staff perspective. So I'm a SPED inclusion teacher. So I've had to have conversations. So we have students that have severe learning disabilities. They may have other health impaired, um, intellectual disabilities, emotional disabilities, like varying disabilities. And so within my school, you have what you call self-contained classrooms. At one point in time, I was a self-contained teacher before I start going into inclusion. But the biggest thing that I have learned, and everybody know I'm a big advocate for my kids. I'm a big advocate for all my special education babies. Um, Anybody who has ever worked with me in any school know that I'm an advocate for the kids and I'm a ride hard for whoever. But my spare babies are my babies. Um, but you just have to have that conversation. So I had this conversation not too long ago with one of my students because they kept identifying the kids like, oh, those are sped kids. Oh, those kids sped. Those kids, oh, those IEP kids. And so I had to tell them, I said, do you understand that in your classroom, okay, DEI, this is a DEI conversation. Do you understand that in your classroom, you have classmates who have IEPs? Because when we talk about special educational things about, we only think about autism or we think about disabilities you can see.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't think about the ones that we cannot see. You can't always tell that somebody has an intellectual disability just by looking at them. You can't tell that someone has autism by looking at them because, again, the spectrum of autism is really, really, really wide. But I told the student, I said, I want you to think about this. I said, how would you feel if somebody constantly identified you as your disability? Um, if they, hey, there goes autism. Oh, hey, there goes dyslexia. So, um, having that conversation with kids will actually help them learn to embrace it. So it's not necessarily the kid, it could be more so the staff trying to do more stuff to be inclusive. I've seen where there's a blind student and the whole grade had an assembly to explain to their entire student body, like, hey, when you see this student, this is student is blind, this is what they have this stick for. So I think also doing stuff like that helps with being inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
um Autism is just one of those things where you just don't know. And to piggyback on what Pink was saying, you do see a lot of videos of children with autism being painted in a negative light because you see them attacking teachers and staff and stuff like that. Yes, I've done it all. So I've been a part of that as well.
Same.
But with autism, there's just such a wide variety because yes, you can have students that are or people that have autism, but they also have trouble with self-regulation, so they might have an emotional disability. So a lot of times they struggle with, again, self-regulation. So they have a hard time processing things with their emotions and their feelings.
Extreme reaction.
They don't understand social cues. A lot of them, so sometimes being diagnosed with autism, sometimes you're coupled with other things like ODD, which is a defiancy disorder, ADHD, ADD, what's the other one? Obsessive compulsive disorder. So it's like there are numerous things that can come along with autism. That's why we say autism is such a broad spectrum. So you have students or kids that literally have to do things the same way, but that's where the OCD
Repetitive behavior.
comes in, repetitive behavior. I literally had a student, she knew what time to go to the bathroom, the 3 bathroom times. If you were 1 minute late, she was going into a behavior. If there was traffic and she was late to school, she was attacking her mama in the car. Like it, autism is such a wide variety, verbal, nonverbal. I've worked with kids that were nonverbal and may have something else going on with them. Um, Sometimes they may be on like a tube, like you gotta feed them. Like it's such a wide variety when it comes to autism, but I have fun with them. They're so funny because, and then they don't
Unpredictable.
unpredictable, and them being funny. It's not like they're doing the things that they do on purpose. But until you see an autistic kid rap a Biggie song, like trying to tell you, like it's like it's the most entertaining thing, but it's fun because you they can still learn. They still can pick up things. They may not be able to function like you and I, but they still are afforded the same opportunities. Some of them have like sensory issues, so they don't like water. A lot of times when you see people who have autism, they stem, and we actually stem too. Our stemming just might look a little bit
Yeah.
different than those that have autism. But sometimes you see them when they cover their ears because a lot of them have the sensory issues with sound, feel like texture stuff. They don't like certain things on their skin. I've worked with ones that didn't like water, so they didn't like to take baths. Um, who that was rough, but yeah, it's just wide variety of those
And
on
I'm
the
gonna say
spectrum.
this to our community. Even if your child is identified as someone who falls on the autism spectrum, it is not the end of the world. It is not the end of their life. Um, do your due diligence to make sure you utilize all the resources that are available to be able to support your child. There's nothing worse than having a parent who is in denial of their child being on the spectrum and not helping them so that your child can still be on the honor roll, still participate in activities. You just have to learn what their coping mechanisms are, what you can do to support it, and how you can help others who deal with your children to support them through those times. The one thing that I've seen more of lately is parents who are afraid to have the conversation. Um, or they'll find out that their children are on the spectrum and they don't share that information with other family members um, or the teachers that their children are working with. And so,
Oh, the teachers listen. Sometimes y'all y'all try to keep it from us, but when you know, you know. I'm telling
mhm,
you, I've been in special education for so long to the point there. I laugh because when I used to do children's church, there was a couple of kids. I'm like, I just know they got IEPs,
mhm,
and then sure enough, found out. Like you just when you know, you know. But please don't be in denial, because I'm telling you, your child, they just gonna fall behind, and they're
mhm,
ultimately gonna suffer in the end because you want to be in denial um about your child's diagnosis. And then also you have parents who are accepting, but then they have outrageous expectations for their child. Unfortunately, some of them are not going to be the president of the United States of America, but that does not mean that they cannot be successful. But literally seen where parents have put unrealistic expectations on their children. And I'm just like, we know that they, realistically speaking, they're not going to be able to do certain things. Now, does that hinder them? No. It's just like there are some things, just like in life, some things we're able to do, some things we're not able to do. But we know our limitations. So I think when it comes to the success of your child, especially a child with a disability, yes, they can be successful and they can experience a whole lot of things, but we also have to have realistic
mhm.
expectations.
Absolutely. Boys are 4 times more likely to be diagnosed with autism, um, which was, I don't know, for me, it was a little bit
I
surprising.
was say, I wonder why.
Um, at the school that I worked at, it was separated. That was one of the things that I didn't necessarily like for that school because they were in their own like separate wing, which they knew there was a difference, and it wasn't explained to some of the students. I understood that it was because they were worried about disruptive behaviors, but they learned to me they did really well with having a smaller classroom. um, a lot of them just had that explosive response when things weren't, like you said, when
So
things weren't done.
emotional regulation. They couldn't emotionally
hmm
regulate.
But what always amazed me is one of my favorite kids is he could tell me if I wanted to ever sell drugs. Homeboy could tell me what I needed to do, and I'm just like, what? Where did you get this from? Like,
Cause
where
they smart. They
they are
like
extremely
they're
smart.
super super smart. And they a lot of them they like to do reading. So the one thing that I will say, especially those that have Asperger's, socially they're awkward. They don't pick up on social cues. Sometimes like spatial awareness when you're just standing and talking to people, looking at our eyes and stuff like that. But when it comes to like their studies and reading books, it's like they are super super smart. I remember I had one um kid, he would literally recite SpongeBob episodes word for word, but like give you all the sound effects, change all the voices to the point where we went to like Busch Gardens or something, Kings and Maine, one of them trips, and I was sitting next to him at the pool. I was sitting there like I felt like I was watching SpongeBob because he was just going for, and I'm like I could picture the episode. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this episode, like. So, they just they're different. They could be sweethearts. I definitely love working in special education. There's something about those kids. They just have a place in my heart. Love them.
I do miss working with kids. I tell people this all the time now. After leaving um, park and plan and no longer working for the school board anymore, um, you realize that it is so much easier to work with kids than it is to work with adults. And
Yes, that's why I don't work with adults unless I have to,
as
which is the
someone
staff that
who
I work with.
as someone who has to speak to the public every day, I just be like, man, can y'all just send a special prayer up, because you realize that it's adults failing children. It doesn't have anything to do with teachers. It has to do with the people who are raising them at home. And I know it's hard to hear that, but I realize a lot of y'all have some comprehension issues, and if you don't address it with yourself, you unconsciously project that onto your children.
I I think now, and I've been having these conversations with my colleagues, um, but the social emotional needs of these children today supersede the educational uh part or the teaching part. I spend a lot of my days dealing with conflict, dealing with drama, especially with the young ladies. And it's the same petty stuff over and over again. It's dumb shit. The shit is stupid.
hmm
Um but because they don't know how to regulate their emotions. They don't know how to not have a conversation with their friend that made them upset without it. Oh, bitch, I'ma fight you at the school. Meet me outside. Blah, blah, blah. Like they don't know how to do that. They don't like literally. It's exhausting because socially and emotionally, I have to get you together just so you can sit down and even start work in the class. Then what I've also realized, and I've realized this as I have dated a little bit throughout the city. Not throughout the city. Let me not say that. Just a little bit, because I don't want y'all to think I'm just out here dating a whole bunch of people, because I'm not. Um, but I've also noticed that a lot of these parents are providers physically, but they're not providing mentally and emotionally, because Yes, do these. Don't get me wrong. Some of my students, hair done, haircuts, they fresh, they shoes fresh, they clothes so they come to school, they face greasy. I always tell them somebody at home loves you because you're moisturized. So they're getting their physical needs met, but these kids are not getting their social emotional needs met at the house. So when they come to school, that's what we're dealing with. We dealing with social emotional, and I am an advocate and a firm believer, and I've been saying this since I've been teaching, that if a child is not available emotionally or socially, he's not going to be available for learning. So you got to get a child available for learning before you can do anything else. And these new kids are really relationship kids. Like, we went to school, we did what we were supposed to do. We may not have liked our teacher, but we still did what we were supposed to do. These kids, if they don't like you, they don't come to your class. Not that it's affecting me, because I don't give a shit. I passed middle school. But um these kids are truly relationship kids, which goes back to that social emotional piece. If they're not getting that at home, like, they literally are trying to get it from wherever they can. Like, it's to the point where it's when kids come up and hug me, I just be like, you know what, to go take what you need. Just hold on to me until it's time for you to let go.
I
But
think it's kind of frustrating though that knowing that a lot of the children that are suffering, their parents are around our age.
that part.
And so, while I can admit that it did take me a while to learn how to process um, and be in control of certain emotions and being able to truly process my feelings and being able to communicate it verbally. Um, I wish that more of us took the time to do the work because it can be beneficial on so many levels. Like they used to say, communication is key, comprehension is key at this point. But I just want to say that I need everyone to really tap in to yourself, do the work on yourself, make sure you are being counterproductive for your children. Even if your child is not anywhere on the spectrum, have the conversations with them about what it may look like for another kid so they're not going out here and being bullies or recording people who are on the spectrum, making fun of them. You have no idea if you're not a person who's experienced it or have a child who experienced who has autism. You have no idea how hard it is to get up every day and realize that you're different from the other people around you and still be able to function normally, which would be normal for you without feeling left out. And that's where I feel like a lot of our children now they do things to fit in,
Mm-hmm.
and it can lead them down a path that not only will the parent be paying for, but it could also affect that student's long term achievement.
I think that's the hardest thing that I struggle with as an educator with this generation is them want not being an individual. Like, I look at them and I'm like, y'all really are get wits. Y'all really will run over here to what y'all think is the hottest, hang with this person because you think this person popular, but this person is trash, or that this is a terrible person for you to be with, but you still gonna hang around this person. Like, I struggle with that because I'm just like, I was always taught to just be myself. And I was always taught, like, to walk to the beat of my own drum. And when I look at these kids, I'm like, y'all really just don't have that instilled in them. Like, they need to identify with something or someone. And I'm always like, y'all just find two or three people, like, find somebody that you feel is like minded like you, that you would want to hang with. But it's a struggle for them, and it's a struggle for me because I'm like, I don't even know how to even convey this message anymore because I really feel like I've always just been my own person. And it's trying to get them to understand that, like, to be your own person, because who is for you is for you. So those people
Mhm.
gonna come to you. You don't have to grab onto this person over here or then grab it onto that person over there. But I don't know. This generate like they
They're
want
a little clingy.
that
A little
part.
clingy. I feel like for our generation, we definitely like while we were kind of concerned about our friend circles, we also understood that um, things can change at any given time, any
Mm-hmm.
moment. And as you go through each stage of your life, you're gonna separate from some friends, you're gonna gain some new friends, and you're gonna realize some of these people you thought was your friends was not your friends.
Mm-hmm.
But trying to explain that to children, they be looking at you like you speaking a foreign language.
Listen, now apparently I speak that foreign language every day.
um, I do want to say for autism awareness, they do have a challenge going on for the month of April. Take on 36 miles. That means to walk 36 miles throughout this month between April 1st and April 30th. Again, I will be posting resources for both Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Autism Awareness Month. You may see me wear blue next on our next show just to further represent autism awareness. Um, while, of course, we don't have any of our own children, like
Mm-hmm.
Phyllis said, she works with children that are on the spectrum. I've previously worked and have hold some very dear kids close to me that are on the spectrum, and it is amazing to watch them achieve new heights and sometimes exceed the expectations. Because, as we stated earlier, realistic expectations
Mm-hmm.
for your children, regardless of if they have autism or not, just having realistic expectations. I think sometimes, um, well, I'm gonna say in my case, I felt like my parents had super high expectations that they put on me that were not verbally discussed. But unconsciously, we can do that to another generation. And so I just want us to continue to be mindful. And these children have been exposed to a lot more things than we were at a younger age.
Yes, that
And
part.
they don't really understand what they've been exposed to. So continue to find ways to be open with your children, have these talks. A lot of these talks y'all need to have a little bit earlier in life now, because they just some of these kids are just exposed to so much at a much younger age. And the last thing you want them to do is to learn it at school where you don't have a way to control the conversation.
Yeah, I'm telling y'all, they definitely following their friends. They definitely doing um what some of their friends are doing. This generation is very, very different. I was just telling one of my colleagues, like, I just remember like doing like being out there, and when I'm saying out there, like being a roller was not okay, right? And we was in middle school and high school. Shout out to Charles Curl, Parkdale. Like y'all knew you had like one or two girls that would go, but like all the girls go. And they go back and forth. And one minute they gay, the next minute they straight, they in thruples. Like it's it's just a lot.
Mhm.
It's overwhelming. Um, and don't get me wrong, like I love working with kids, but it has become harder as the years have passed. And it's not even just we can't even blame this on COVID no more because now it's just like it's parenting. Like parents really gotta parent, man. Y'all really gotta talk to y'all kids. And again, it's our age group. And no, I don't have kids of my own, but every day that I step into my job from 8 to 3:30, your kids are my kids. Those are my kids. And I tell them that all the time. I'm responsible for each and every one of y'all in here. From the time I'm here to the time I'm gone. So I think it's just Parents just gotta be parents. And we came out straight, y'all. So I don't understand what we switching up for. Now I'm here for the apologizing to your kids and stuff like that, because I feel like our parents never apologize. Black parents, they don't apologize. They just, but you hungry, you want some fruit. You know what I'm saying? They never acknowledge when they were wrong. They just move forward. So I do appreciate that our generation is doing that. But there are other things that our parents did, our grandparents did, that we turned out just fine. Cause these kids not gonna turn out just fine. Like it's scary. It's really scary. I'm really scared for them.
Absolutely. So before we wrap up our show, I know I was kind of slipping in the month of March. We're doing the shout outs to Black women owned businesses. But I do want to shout out a Black business this month, this week. And that is the Oasis Fresh Food Market that is down in Fort Washington. I will be posting about their business. It is located at 4145 Indian Head Highway in Indian Head, Maryland. Um, they do close slightly earlier than a regular grocery store, but it is locally grown vegetables and fresh foods that they have at their market. So I will make sure that I tag their business for this week. Um, Words of wisdom.
Um. Okay. So as we go into this new season, spring is here. So I just want to leave y'all with this. I let go of people who harm my mental health. Um, and I say this because I feel like that we hold on to people longer than we should. Um, and a lot of times we're holding on to what once was, and or the memories. And when you realize that this relationship that you have, and this does not have to be a romantic relationship, it could be a platonic relationship or working relationship, that is starting to be detrimental to your thought process, your everyday life. Like, you wake up, this is constantly on your brain. Every time you talk to them, they fluster your energy, you get frustrated. Like, I think it's time to let them go. And that's about creating boundaries. So I'm at a place in life where, for real, if you fluster my energy, if you constantly make me frustrated, like, you gotta go. Like, I can't deal with that, because I don't want to be in chaos. I don't want to, every time you come around, and it's not even just my mind, but my spirit is bothered. Like, I don't feel good being in your presence. Like, you need to let that go. Now, I know that in certain places we can't control everything, right? Because the first thing I'm thinking about is work. Work need to go, because it's detrimental to my mental health. But however, I need my job. So we have to create those boundaries. So that's when you create boundaries to where you don't allow that to actively affect your mental health. And also, talk to the lady. All right, that literally. And I told my principal this. I said, the lady is keeping me in. She is keeping me together in this building Monday through Friday. Okay, so let go of those people that are bad for your mental health, and always remember to live fearless.
Okay, my words of wisdom this week would simply be if you are feeling alone, or like you feel like no one really cares about you, please reach out. Whether it is on Instagram, on Facebook, um, on Twitter, if you need someone to talk to. Now, I'm not saying I want y'all to reach out in these DMs and start sending crazy messages again, because you will be blocked immediately. But this is seriously for people who feel like they feel unseen. Um, I want you to understand that you are important. You do matter, whether whether is it expressed to you consistently, you're important and you belong here. If it was your time to go, the good Lord would have took you. Um, I want you to find a reason to be happy that is not attached to something monetary. Um, it is your responsibility to create your own happiness. Your happiness should not be relying upon a person, place, or thing. Find a simple joy in something that is not going to cost you anything. Um, I do want y'all to take care of y'all mental health every day, not just on the weekends. Take care of your mental health every day. As Phyllis says, go talk to the lady.
Talk to her.
Talk to the lady or that man. Go talk to somebody. But we thank y'all for tuning in and being with us this week. It's April. I know y'all seen all that pollen outside. So
Listen, ghetto.
Yes. I also want to send up a special prayer to the Stevens and Bell family, as one of my friends lost her sister yesterday. And so I definitely want to send up a special prayer to the family as they're going through their time of grief, and my condolences. But thank y'all so much for tuning in.
Thank y'all.
And we will see y'all next week.
Bye, y'all.